Welcome to Beyond the Work, Tales in Multifamily Maintenance, an audio and video podcast brought to you and powered by the Multifamily Media Network. My name is Chris Caramonica, and I am your host. As a 15-year veteran of the apartment industry, I feel like I have done and seen it all. Don't we all feel that way? And then we see or hear something else. I have stories to tell, and the desire to hear and tell others' stories. As a multiple committee member with NAA, a CAMT advisory board member, and a national presenter and educator, I have met and worked with so many people in our great industry at all levels. This is not a how-to podcast. It is a how-did podcast. We are going to explore the how-did tales in multifamily. How did we do it? How did we learn from it? How did we grow? How did we decide not to do it again? Join me as we go beyond the work. Hello all, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Work, Tales in Multifamily Maintenance. My name is Chris Caramonica, and I am your host. My guest today is Wendell Molinito from the REM Group. So I wanted to pass it right over to my guest. We have some interesting things that we want to touch base on today. But Wendell, why don't you introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about what you're currently doing and how you kind of got into this industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for inviting me, Chris. My name is Wendell Molinito. I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Technology at the REM Group. And I stumbled into this industry like 99% of everyone else, I believe. It is a fast-paced, non-boring industry. And I play in almost all the different facets of the industry in my role. Apparently, technology ties to every department. And so with the role I have, I find creative ways to streamline work. And in one of those areas is maintenance. And I think that's probably the big topic we're talking about today.
Yeah, absolutely. So what were you doing before you fell into multifamily? Like what led you here?
Yeah, no, actually, so prior to multifamily, I actually was the executive director of Orange County, where a lot of folks who are in the industry earn their CPMs, their ARMs, accredited residential manager and certified property manager. So I ran a chapter here in Orange County where I met my CEO at the time, became very good friends. And I think a few years after that, she invited me to join the REM Group. And now I understand, when I was running the association, why property managers are always so busy and why they never respond to my emails about tickets for the next event.
So you came from an association background, if you will, into the industry that you were serving.
The association
that the association was serving. That's interesting, and you're unique in it. I've worked with a lot of different associations on the national level and the local level. I'm very involved with the National Apartment Associations I've talked about on previous episodes. So that's really interesting because usually it's the other way around. It's the practitioners who end up going to work for an association or an affiliate, and they can kind of speak the lingo. So did you have some challenges when you actually had to work in property management as opposed to property management support or property management adjacent?
Well, I think that the industry is challenging in its own. I think, anyone who jumps in this industry, it doesn't matter how much school you've been to or even literally even experiences in similar industries. Property management is an evolving industry altogether. I think every day it changes, and it's hard to keep up with not only the laws, but all of the different types of technology that roll into it. And so I think that at the end of the day, it was challenging right from the get-go. I realized right away that, what we were doing wasn't just managing apartments. We were managing homes. We were managing places where people live. And, you start to see the other side of that. From the work orders to the rent payments to everything, you start to realize that, if we don't do a good job as property managers, these residents are going to have a very difficult time in life, and I think there was a little bit of a passion there when I saw that happening. I was very curious to find out, how do we make residents happy, right? We talk a lot about, oh, let's just send them a survey.
Right. Yeah,
But
it's just easy. So send
it's
them a
just easy,
survey. Let's get their feedback.
Yeah.
Every
They must love
company.
us. We're
Yeah,
at a 4.5 star Yelp, where we must be loved. We must be doing something right.
Absolutely.
And you start to realize really quickly that there's a lot that goes into property management, especially multifamily property management, and learning about what really makes residents love living in a place. And then the fact that they just renewed doesn't mean they love the place.
That's also true. Yes.
So
it means that they've decided to live there for another year is what it means. It doesn't mean necessarily.
I mean, if they're not going to leave, they must love us.
That's exactly what every renewal means. So you mentioned laws, and we talked a little bit before, I hit record about laws, and you're based in California, correct?
Yes.
Now, does REM Group primarily is all of the management that you do in the state of California, or are you in other markets?
Currently, yes, it's in the state of California.
Okay. So I'm a New Yorker, live in New Jersey, but New Yorker born and bred. And we were talking before I did hit record that, the New York laws and California laws are kind of bellwether for the industry, right? Is if something is happening in New York City or something's happening in the great state of California, it usually has a tendency to kind of, sound the alarm that this could be coming to a city near you, quite literally. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about was, some of the law changes in California over the last couple of years, specifically in maintenance. And can you speak to a little bit about how REM Group and other managers and owners had to kind of change their means and methods to be in compliance with those laws?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I know. It's funny. We were talking about, I'm California, you're New York. I feel like, we're playing a poker game in the US, and we're both chip leaders here, and we just keep raising each other on different laws while the rest of the states are watching going, I wonder what they have. Yeah, no, California is a very interesting state. We are the trailblazers of a lot of laws out there. And one of those laws, which really drove a lot of the decision making we made this year with a lot of PropTech, was AB 14, I believe it's AB 2081. I might be mistaken there, but we can double check that. But this law was the one on inspections for move-ins, move-outs, and make ready. And so this law requires, here in California, that pictures are taken at almost every stage, which is about 3 of them, in order to verify whether or not you can charge a resident for that through their deposit. So if there's a hole in the wall, you need a picture of the wall without a hole in it prior. So you can imagine the amount of administrative work that goes into that if you don't have the proper program in place. And we were exploring multiple programs before this law came into effect and became enforced. And we realized that we needed some sort of mobile app that is able to make it easy for the maintenance individual to do the job, right? Something streamlined, something simple. And that's where we found AppWork, which is one of the programs we were reviewing. And, from the get-go, something that really just sparked was their ability to move quickly, to pivot. I always tell my team, we're not trying to find the best technology today. You're trying to find a technology that will adapt for tomorrow.
Yes.
Right? You try to buy one technology today, thinking that it's going to do all the jobs for tomorrow. You're going to be poorly mistaken.
Yeah.
So the idea here wasn't trying to find, a technology that is the best today, that is the largest, the most backed. It was really finding a team of folks who had a passion about the industry. And that's where we found Sean and his team, and Danny and Dom. And we realized that, they're a very passionate group of people who love maintenance and who really went into this industry in order to build a program to help maintenance folks. And that's why we went through pilots, we ran through all those, and then we decided to go with them and launched it across the portfolio. And there's always going to be challenges. We face challenges in the beginning, but
Hmm.
that's what I expected with technology, with PropTech. You're going to face the challenges, and then you ask the team to fix it. And they came in every single time there was something different. They fixed it because we can't control everything, right? I mean, you can't control whether
Yeah.
AWS goes down,
Which
right?
unfortunately it's been happening quite a
It's
bit.
been happening quite a bit, right? So, mobile apps have issues. Apple, Google, Android phones, they're not the ones who built the phones. They're the ones who built the program that sits on the phone.
Right.
So you need to find individuals who are passionate about what they do. And that's what we found in AppWork. And that's why we brought them on. And today there's different upgrades and it's evolving, right? And, with that said, we wanted something that'll evolve not only with how we do work and what we need as a third party property management, but we also needed a program that's going to evolve with the way California passes laws.
Yeah.
So we're not looking at this one law that passed. We're really almost future proofing for what may come down the pipeline.
Yeah. I'm old enough that, back when I started in the industry, and it was just 16 years ago that I started in the multifamily industry, but I remember at every move out inspection getting my company issued camera, because honestly cameras were not that good on phones 15 years
Mhm.
ago, if they even existed. And then having to take 15-20 photos at a move out inspection of every blind and appliance and wall, and then having to pull the memory card out, plug it into my computer, wait, you know, uh, and back then memory cards didn't hold, barely 1/100th of what a memory card holds now.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
and then having to sit there and upload all of those photos and then put them into a Word document.
Oh,
So that's one of the many things that I've loved about prop tech in general, is it is becoming a lot easier for on-site. It used to take me, let's say, a half hour to take photos and then another hour to get those photos uploaded and put into a usable document so we could file we called them statement of deposits,
yep. What is?
sodas. We used to call them sodas,
Uh-huh.
um, to make sure that we could have the proper documentation for the office teams to issue the deposit checks back, or a
Yeah.
portion of the deposit checks. What I know that was your one of your main goals to go into Upwork. What have you seen with just the expediting of that process? Because I would assume that it was a very similar process for you and your teams before that, and now
Oh,
you have tech that probably takes significantly less time.
well, absolutely. And you know, I mean, we got creative. We have properties where, okay, let's do the Google Drive, let's do the Citrix share file. Okay, upload those photos. Now make sure you double check before you upload the photos. Okay, make sure you label them. Let's label those files.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, not .heic files. Make sure you turn to JPEG because we can't
Yeah.
open those.
Yeah. It's
Right? I
true
mean,
though. It's
it's
little things like that that maintenance, if you're using an iPhone, you know, or an iPad, you can only email yourself 5 photos at a time. And I don't know if that's changed. I'm an Android user. But back in, my early days of using an iPhone, it was like, great, I could email 5 at a time. That was all Apple products would let me do.
well,
But
yeah,
now you can get everything in one foul swoop, basically, without any of
exactly,
that.
exactly. But not only that, but I mean, you're having to trust all your maintenance teams who are doing this, who are busy as it is already, completing work orders after work order and doing inspections. Like obviously there's going to be an error rate. And all of a sudden you're going to see a file and you're going to see, there's the sink, there's the carpet, there's a hole in the wall. What's this picture? That's interesting. That looks like a picture of a car, or that's a picture of someone at a party, and it's like, how do you're gonna blame the maintenance person? I mean, his finger must have accidentally slipped and just added another row when he hit upload.
Right.
So there's so much of that involved, not only streamlining the process, but also making sure that the process is um and accurate. way of completing a job, right? And you're asking your maintenance teams who are experts in their field to also be experts in another arena, right? Which is, oh yeah, now you're gonna have to learn how to use this app. You're gonna have to learn how to, convert files and do formatting and go on a computer. And I mean, at that point, you're really taking away the time that was supposed to be dedicated to what their expertise is and their talents,
Right.
which is maintenance. Like I want them turning those units. I want them going in there and fixing, any issue that the resident needs help with. And so we learned really quickly that on top of the inspections, we also learned that the program helped us capture data, which is very powerful thing today. Uh,
Especially for a VP of tech.
exactly, exactly. Well, and not only that, but just from a general standpoint, I mean, we're in the age of artificial intelligence, and honestly, the currency of artificial intelligence is data,
Hmm.
right? But not just any data, good data, right? And I believe that one day a lot of companies are going to try and, we're going to add our Gemini or Chat GPT 5 onto our Yardi.
Yeah.
Well, how how much confidence do you have in that data that's sitting right now in Voyager that's been kind of consolidated for the past 10, 15 years,
Right.
right? And so that's where this kind of program helps, because what it does is it structures the data in the right way and it captures the best parts of the data. Quick story. One of the things I love about this program is the ability that they created in order to gamify maintenance.
Hmm.
Very similar to what we saw with in leasing, which is like Knox CRM and
Right.
a lot of other CRM tools. It gamified the program and the workload. For maintenance, a lot of our maintenance folks love it because they're getting points and they're scoring on a leaderboard. I got folks who are at the top. I got this very young maintenance person who got hired a few years ago, and he is crushing it right now, just crushing it. And he's in the leaderboard. He's at the top. His ratings are incredible. You can read his reviews, that are organic. They're not the ones where, let me go ahead and walk around the community and ask these residents for a review. These are reviews that happen instantaneously when the work order is completed, and you're starting to see this ability to really put a spotlight on maintenance that I haven't seen before, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah, I like the gamification.
Yep.
It is the world that we live in now. I too play, video games.
Mhm.
And I enjoy, when I reach another level or, I've increased points. One of the things that my organization did years ago with our LMS system, there was a gamification to our learning management system. So you got points for m- the more trainings that you took or the type of trainings you took. So I got
Mhm.
really involved in that. It was honestly one of the big things I did during COVID was focusing on, you know, on those downtimes where I didn't have meetings, I was able to, do trainings. But there's a downside to gamification. It's not all fun and leaderboards, you
Mhm.
know. Can have you had any issues, and it's okay if you hadn't, or if you don't want to share, any issues where people were more worried about the game as opposed to the work? Because that is a very, people could be winning the game, but not winning at work. Is that something that maybe you've seen or that that you were even concerned about?
I was concerned about that with other programs in the past. And the reason why I say that is because I think what AppWorks have done with their program specifically is that they balanced it. It's not
Okay.
about speed, okay?
Mm,
Because here's the thing, you can complete 1,000 work orders in a week. But if your ratings from those reviews, which are real people, come
mhm.
back and go, yeah, he walked in here and touched the sink and walked out.
Right.
There's no way.
There's a balance there.
Yeah, exactly. It's very hard to game a program when it requires feedback from the actual customer as well
Mm,
as the tracking of your
interesting.
speed of completing it. It's not just about getting the job done. You also have to make sure that it's done right.
Right.
And I think that was a powerful thing because they do something about callbacks. So,
Mhm.
especially in work orders, right? If you do a work order and you got to go back again because something's still wrong, that's not a good thing to have. And I think this program, because it came from an individual, from a team who know property management, they thought that out very, very thoroughly. And that's what I love about it, because even I wanted to try to game it, like I was looking at the program going, well, what if I did this? And then they
Right.
go, well, if you did that, this would happen. I'm like, oh, that's true. I would get caught. So, I think it's nice to know that the folks who built the program have also been in the industry for at least a decade. And they know that, they don't want to create a program that allows maintenance folks to just game it.
Yeah.
It's not healthy, it's not good, right? And honestly, the program's there in order to streamline their work, but also give the best experience to the customer, which are the folks who are paying rent and living there for months.
Yeah, I love that, and I've had plenty of conversations with Sean Landsberg at Appwork about that.
Yeah.
I've also Danny Black was a recent guest on my show last couple months ago. So it is very interesting because this is where we're going. I'm glad I got to see the birth of real prop tech for
Yeah.
maintenance. Appwork is one of the pioneers and leaders, but there's a lot of other great programs out there.
Yep.
Even the major players, the software players like Yardi and RealPage, they're also starting to do similar things, but these standalone, focused on maintenance is something that I'm really intrigued about. But one of the challenges I still hear across the industry is, and you kind of alluded to it, is maintenance professionals are used to doing, their job. They're used to
Hmm.
doing turning the wrench, doing the work order, getting out. Um, what kind of challenges did you have with the adoption of this maintenance, AppWorks PropTech to your routine daily life? Because it is very challenging. There's a whole generation, or actually two generations, that are what I like to say is tech averse. They they don't like it, but the newer generations are much more tech savvy, tech friendly. So what kind of challenges did you have in implementation, which is something that a lot of companies worry about when they want to bring on new prop tech?
It's funny. I always thought about this, when people go, oh, well, we're going to have to roll that out to individuals. Do you think they know how to, utilize an app? And right. And it's so funny to me because if you look at outside the industry, if you just look at technology and customers, right? I don't think I've met anyone who's never ordered something on Amazon today.
Yeah.
Like I would put money down that if we just walked down the street and I looked at someone, I'm like, hey, I'm going to guess you have at least 2 items in your cart right now.
Right. Or
Right.
or they use social media,
Or took an Uber,
some
social
form.
media,
Yeah.
Uber Eats.
I usually am the first person to shout down when I hear
Mhm.
maintenance professionals are tech averse. It's like, no, you think that they are. There's a real difference, right? And I use those examples that you just said, Uber and Amazon and social media. Now they might not like it, but I also say, uh, I find myself saying this quite often at industry events, is that it's a tool in their tool bag. And whenever I come across, I come across them in my speaking engagements and just day to day life. When I hear a maintenance professional doesn't want to use a mobile app, I was like, okay, would you not use your plunger?
Right.
And I said, could you honestly tell me, if you worked for me, that I'm not going to use my screwdriver. I'm not going to use a plunger. And they go, well, we would never say that. And I said, but tech is another tool in your tool bag.
It really
And
is.
that instantly they're like, oh, like the minute it's presented that way. And I think is where a lot of companies need to work on that messaging, is that, especially for maintenance professionals, it's a tool in your tool bag. And I didn't know how to use a plunger the first time somebody handed me one. I didn't know how to use a toilet auger. I didn't know, I could go on and on and on with the list of tools I didn't know how to use. But once you do use it, you get to learn how to use it. You use it better, more proficiently. It sounds like that's what you're seeing at
Absolutely.
your company
Well, let's be honest here. I mean, there's new tools being brought into the maintenance world or any construction crew or
every day.
every day, right?
Every
You
day.
put them through certification courses, and it's like, like if someone needed help with a mobile app, you put them through a little bit of onboarding and training.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the other thing too. You go to Home Depot or you buy on HE Supply. You look at the new tool belts. There's a few tool belts now that come with a charger and a phone holder in it. So you can't tell me that's not part of the tool belt when they're literally building it into
Building
the
it
tool
into the
belt.
tool belt. I love
Like,
that.
give me a break. Like, it's got a charger on there. It's got a mag charger on the tool belt. You just plug your phone on and boom, like right
Yeah.
next to the screwdriver, the pliers, and the things that have been there for decades in maintenance and construction.
Yeah.
You got tape measures with AI built into it now. And you're telling
I
me that
I actually have a digital
I got
tape
one
measure.
too. I got one too. I'm actually looking at this one, and I got another one in my Amazon cart right now because I want to see which one's better. So at the end of the day, when people say they're tech adverse, I don't think anyone really is tech adverse. I think that they're hesitant, right? I think that they're hesitant because you're in your personal life and you're using tech all the time, and then you go to work, and some folks just want to be like, okay, I've been doing this for 10 years. Why is this changing? Right?
It's
I
change
don't
management.
It's change management. I don't think people are tech adverse. I think people are concerned with change
Yeah.
because they don't know whether this is going to make their life better or it's going to make their life worse. And it's our responsibility, especially from the training department to the executives to everyone else that's part of this process, to communicate with our on-site teams and show them that this process isn't scary. It's not going to be difficult. It's going to make your life easier, and this is how. But on top of that, not just implementing a process, but getting the feedback of the teams.
Yeah.
And that's what we did when we rolled out AppWork. It wasn't just, okay, we piloted with one property, we're going to go across the entire. No, we piloted with probably around 5 or 6 properties. And through that process of months, we got their feedback. Hey, what else would you like this app to do? What would you prefer? In your day to day, would this make your life easier, tougher? And by implementing a process where you can get feedback from the people who use the program, I think that's the most important part of that because you're getting their buy in. You're not trying to tell them, here's a new tool in your tool belt. What you're trying to ask them is, what do you think about this new tool? Do you think it'll help you in your day to day? And when you can get the buy in of the person who uses it day to day, then you're done. You don't have to sell it to anyone. We're not trying to sell a program. We're trying to make their lives better. And I think that's why PropTech is a very interesting field in multifamily. It's just that sometimes in PropTech, you have the developer who's never been in the industry. You have the operator who does it day to day for the past 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
You need someone in between to explain to both parties and to communicate that here's a tech, it needs a little bit of tweaking. Here's the operator. We just have to train them a little bit. And you find that happy medium, and all of a sudden, it's a match made in heaven. And we've been seeing that countless times, but it does take a little bit of change management, which is a scary word in our industry.
It's a scary word in every industry, but yeah, definitely when, people who started in the industry, like I said, even 16 years ago,
Mhm.
I am a techie. No qualms about it, but I know that I would fumble through using an app for inspections. It's like, it's easier for me
Yeah,
to handwrite it or, jot it into even jotting it into my tablet as opposed to opening up an inspection app and, very easily hitting buttons or adding photos. Um, but it's not something I do every day either
correct.
anymore. But I know that I personally would have a challenge with it. And for me, it would not be about the tech, it would be about the change. And I think
Correct.
that's what a lot of people need to work through when they're making these moves and making these changes is know that it's not tech averse. It is not lack of knowledge because they have that. They have that in their personal lives. I guarantee you, if I was to hand a Bluetooth speaker to a maintenance tech and say, "Here's your speaker that you can play your music, while you're doing your turn," I guarantee you that thing would be synced before it even got out of the box, right? But I asked them to download an app and follow, a very detailed job aid of, okay, you're going to open up this and then you're going to do this. And you're like, well, I can't do that. It's like, but you blindly synced Bluetooth speaker, so you could listen to your music. And it's sad, it's funny, but it's not, and I think it's about, and it's nice to hear that you and your organization took that into account, that change management piece, that feedback, getting that feedback loop, I think is also important, because it's sometimes feedback is awesome, but this is what we're doing. This is the new paradigm.
Yeah.
It's not always us. It is the law, going back to what we were talking about earlier, is that we're being required to do this. And we are giving you the tools and resources to do it smarter, faster, and meet our requirement.
Well, and the technology continues to change. And I think that it's important to, as soon as a company, an organization can, implement new prop tech as soon as possible. Because the other thing too is that, change management is scary because you only do it once in a blue moon. You keep doing change management over and over and over again, and everyone's going to be like, oh yeah, we're good. Got it. It becomes a
we've
normal
been through
process.
this.
So when you familiarize yourself with technology changing constantly, and I think that's the direction that, I've tried to bring to the company, is we need to get used to adapting. And
We have to
quickly.
adapt. We are in an industry where everybody's used to doing the things that they were used to doing 20, 30 years ago. For leaders that have been in the industry a really long time, I'm starting to knock on that door myself
Yeah,
of being in this industry a long time. But yeah, I agree with you that rip the Band-Aid off. Hey,
ripped out.
this is what we're doing. And let's embrace it and get ready for the next thing, because
Exactly.
technology is moving faster than we are these days.
Yeah, if the constant in technology is change, then you can't be change management afraid.
Right.
Because we know it's going to change again. It's going to change tomorrow. It's going to change next week. So why, instead of trying to avoid the change, why not train your team to be ready for change?
I think that's a great takeaway. So you said that you work primarily you're in third party management.
Mhm.
How do you communicate that to your owners as their operator? How are you communicating the need for these changes? The positives, and sometimes even the drawbacks that you may experience with changing out a system, or b- basically level setting their expectations. Was that a challenge?
It was a challenge, but at the same time, would you rather work with a company that doesn't that avoids a change, even though they know that on the other side of that change will be better for your asset? And the only reason why they don't want to make the change because they don't want to rock the boat this year or next year or 2-3 years from now, right? I think that full transparency with ownerships is the best way to go. It's to let them know that this is happening, this is the law that's changing, this is the new technology that's coming out. We're going to try it, we're going to test it, we're going to, try to future proof your asset, because you want to keep it for a long term, long life, and you're in a environment with constant change. But that's why you hired a trustworthy operator,
Yes.
right? It was funny, I had an issue with in my kitchen, and it was a plumbing issue. And this plumber comes in, and he has all his tools, but then all of a sudden, he realizes that none of this will work. So he heads out, goes to Home Depot, says, I'll be back. He leaves all his tools there. He goes, I'll be back. I'm just like, okay. He goes, I won't charge you for extra time, but I'm be back. Comes back, brings like brand new tool. Don't know what it was, like, I'm not a plumber, so I have no idea what this thing was. But he opens it up. He literally opens this brand new thing up to do a job, right? And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking to myself, that's pretty similar. I don't ask the plumber, how he's going to get it done, I hired an expert.
Yeah.
Right? I don't go to a plumber and go, hey, why don't you try this? I just looked it up on YouTube. I think this might help.
That's what unfortunately some of our residents do, but
Exactly. Right. I mean, we all do that, but at the same time, when you hire an expert, right, who's got a great reputation, is a great, this person had to go to this plumber had to go to Home Depot, come back because he realized that the new whatever they had, the gasket on these new homes are different, and he didn't have one, so he went to go get a new tool. Well, that's the same thing that's going to apply in our industry. Something new is going to hit in our industry, and we may not have the tools at that moment to fix it.
Yeah.
So we have to adapt. It's not a, oh, it's a nice to have. No, it's a must.
Yeah.
The same way that
sometimes you have to drop your tools and go buy a new tool.
You got to drop your tools and go get a new one and bring, or else, he was like, yeah, I could have done this. And this is what he told me. He said, I could do this with the ones I have, but it would have taken me an extra 2-3 hours. And I don't want to charge you the extra 2 to 3 hours. So I told him, oh, so I've always wanted to get this tool. So I just went to go get it and bring it back. And now it took him like 10 minutes. He's like, that's why I did it, just to let you know. Like, I'm sorry if it seemed weird that I left all my stuff and came back. And I was like, no, it's fine. Thank you. He goes, yeah, I saved you 2 hours on the job. You're done. And I was like,
and I think that's how, I think that's as an industry, how, if you're in a third-party management environment, I'm in a split third-party management, but also owner-operator environment, that's how you explain it. And that's how you explain these changes and the needs. And it's not, sorry, we're going to spend more money on PropTech. It is, we are going to save you more money.
Exactly.
And this is how we're going to do it. We're saving technicians time. We're getting better data. We could use that data, in all of these different ways. And that's the thing that always interests me about tech, especially now, is it used to be everything was on paper and it was put in a file and nobody looked at it ever again.
Mm-hmm.
Now everything is digital and it's at your fingertips. You want a work order from 3 years ago? You want to look at a history? You can just open up, it's 2 or 3 buttons and bang, you have it. And then you can really dive into it. Whereas before you'd have to go to a file and you'd have to sit there and pull all the paper out and then make notes and then put it into a Word document. And that was hours and hours of property managers' time, maintenance supervisors' times. And now it's kind of easy. It's not easier. It's just easy.
Yeah. And on that note, Chris, I mean, think about this. There is a ton of, it's a gold mine of information that in the first time in history, all this information that we're collecting, you can go to any other industry. They're doing this now, from the medical field to, to other tech companies, right? But in the maintenance world, all this data that sits in your property management software, whether it's accurate or not accurate, but all this data, there's probably ways when you're about to launch some sort of agentic AI on this thing where you're able to have an AI dig through it, because no one's going to pay the money for a person to read through a number of files and tabulate everything.
Right.
Okay. You don't know if there's a gold mine in there yet, but imagine a place where all this data you have, hundreds of thousands of residents who lived, right? Millions of work orders that were done, assets everywhere from multiple properties.
Right.
You take all that data and you throw in an agentic AI that's able to look through it with prescriptive analytics and predictive analytics and all the analytics in there. I guarantee you, we're going to find trends. We're going to find things, that back in the day, it used to be, I've been doing this for 20 years. I know for a fact this is going to happen, right? It's kind of a gut experience. Now we have the ability for someone who literally hasn't been in the industry, or a property management company who hasn't really have that seasoned veteran, to now be able to use data to drive even more decisions that's better for asset integrity, for NOI growth, for revenue growth. I mean, it's funny when we think about it, but I always laugh because, part of my role is the marketing side of it. So I spend all this money to get advertising, right? And then I think to myself, well, let's think about this. We're spending all that money. Why are we not focusing on the renewal side of it, right? Because if you think about it, I'm going to get a new resident. Great. That's wonderful. I spent this much money. Now we also have to do the turn cost. Now, I mean, where's all that data that put together that tells you that, if you keep this one resident, you're going to save X amount of dollars?
Yeah.
And if you keep that one resident, we don't have to spend on advertising. We don't have to turn, right?
Your
So
marketing. Spend more to
exactly,
keep them, spend less to, spend less to get
exactly,
them.
right? Like keeping your customer instead of trying to find new ones, right? What's your exposure in your property? And the other thing is, why are they leaving?
Yeah.
Right? And you find out, and you start to find this out because most of the time people leave not because of the price of their apartment, because they knew the price, right? They budgeted in, it's ready to go. I know this is how much I pay. So what else is causing them to leave?
Yeah.
And
I read a
and
report recently from another prop tech company that is doing analytics on their stuff, and they provided a report, and they said exactly on this topic that if a one of their residents uh, has an AC work order in the first 90 days of residency, okay, um, they there is a 96% chance that they're not going to renew. Like, that's the number. Like, that is their analytics, and eventually, and there's a lot of other companies out there that are doing that.
yep,
But I find it funny because I know I have a lot of friends in the commercial and industrial industry, and they've been doing this for decades.
mhm,
Multifamily is always, you know 15, 20 years behind some of our sister industries, and that's truth, right? So we got to a point where our industry was so reactive. Now we're getting more into preventative. That's
yep,
really where we should live. But with tech, we're actually being predictive.
yes,
So that is the next wave, and that's where prop tech like Appwork, um, and other prop techs that are out there are going to help us be predictive as opposed to reactive or preventive.
exactly. And that's really what it comes down to. I mean, we always have a saying in our company, you know, I look for smoke before it turns to fire, right? If you look for smoke before it turns to fire and you address it, you'll avoid having to do fire drills. It's that
Yeah.
simple,
Yeah.
right? And
But
and, and
what if
property
but
management,
what
every
if you
fire drill.
know what if you know that something is going to cause a fire or cause a
Yep,
smoke? And that's the next iteration, right? Is that, oh no,
exactly.
I don't
Let's
even want to see
fireproof it.
smoke anymore. I,
Yeah,
I don't want even want to see smoke.
yeah. Let's fireproof every single thing we can
Yeah.
fireproof, right? And invest a nickel today to avoid paying a dollar tomorrow, right?
So Wendell, I can definitely talk to you all day on all of these topics. You are a wealth of knowledge. But as we wind down, I wanted to just give you an opportunity. Is there anything that you want to share about, how our industry can help future proof, or what you guys are doing, for as an organization to be ready for the next level or get to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really just comes down to having folks in your industry who are willing to be those types of ambassadors for future proofing for technology. It's funny, we always talk about our industry being 20 years, 10 years, whatever, behind, right? Hotel industry,
Yeah.
commercial, right? And we look to them and we're like, oh yeah, we can do that now. It's,
Yeah.
it's almost like our industry is almost a hand-me-downs, and Big Brother just got a new pair of jeans and oh, I can't wait to wear those.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, but as we evolve, it's funny, COVID did this to us, I think, in the past five,
Yes.
6 years. COVID really, one of the silver linings of COVID was drive a lot of decisions that everyone's been, pushing for to do, right? And all of a sudden, because of COVID, we had to jump high. We had to make some big moves in order to meet the demands. And, I hope that our industry, learn something from that we shouldn't wait for the next pandemic.
Hmm. Yeah.
We saw an advantage of doing it. And now you look through all the multifamily properties now, you got things in there from virtual tours to, it's becoming a staple, a fixed
Right.
cost. It's not
Yeah.
a nice to anymore. It's a must have, right? You got self-guided tours occurring. You got maintenance apps running through almost multiple programs. I mean, you got AI being used in leasing. You got AI being used in even, in low income housing and Section 8 and HUD. I mean, things that were tedious paperwork is now being done in minutes.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because folks were willing to invest in that. They were able to educate their owners, if whether you're an owner manager or a third party with owners, you were able to educate them and show them that there's a better way to do things, more streamlined, reduce costs. But most importantly, I think that a lot of people look at the new technology and they see it as, oh, they're going to replace, right? They're going to replace my.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, the days of R2D2 running around the community doing work orders, that ain't happening anytime soon, So, and then not only that, but I also think that people are starting to realize very quickly that, as the old saying in AI, it's funny how we say it's an old saying now, even though it's only been a few years. You're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose it to someone who knows AI,
Yeah.
right? You're going to lose it to someone who leverages that new tool that sits right in the tool belt of our maintenance team. Like we were talking about before, right? People were always cracking me up saying, "Oh, it's a new tool." Yeah, it's a new tool. I mean, look at the tool belts coming out now. Go to Home Depot and look at them, right? They got the mag charger, so you can put your phone on it now. Now it's in between the screwdriver and the pliers.
Love it. Love it.
So it's a tool. The phone's a tool, and our maintenance teams are gonna be using those phones, those iPhones as tools, those Android phones as tools. And I think you just need an ambassador, at every company needs someone to say it's gonna be better. We just have to learn about it. We have to go through this process. And, just like anything else in the past, you've gone through a process. I mean, when emails came out.
Yeah, I know. That's a whole nother thing. But we are at the end of our time. Wendell, I'd like to thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you all for listening in to another episode of Beyond the Work, Tales in Multifamily Maintenance. Please check out, the full interview of some of the other great folks that I've had. Check out the interview with Danny Black from AppWork and any of the other previous episodes that we've had. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you. Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you for joining me today for Beyond the Work, Tales in Multifamily Maintenance. No matter how long you've been in our industry or what position you have at your company or your community, everyone has a maintenance tale to tell. If you like this episode, please like, comment, subscribe, and follow to this podcast. Go to www.multifamilymedianetwork.com and leave me a voice message or share your information, and we can tell your tale together on a future episode. Please join the MMN newsletter for upcoming industry podcasts, thought pieces, and sponsorship opportunities. Our stories all connect us. See you for the next chapter.